Hey, history buffs and thrill seekers. Buckle up, because we're about to dive into the dark, brutal, and downright shocking world of one of history's most infamous figures, Genghis Khan. Picture this: a warrior so fierce, so unstoppable, that his name alone sent entire empires trembling. We're not just talking about a tough guy on a horse. We're talking about a man who reshaped the world through sheer terror and conquest. If you thought history was all dusty books and boring dates, think again. Today, we're uncovering 10 horrifying, wild, and sometimes darkly funny facts about Genghis Khan that will leave you stunned. From molten silver executions to massacres that wiped cities off the map, this is the story of a legend whose ruthlessness knew no bounds. Let's get started with a tale that'll make your skin crawl. First up, at number 10, let's talk about a punishment so gruesome it sounds like something out of a horror movie. Genghis Khan didn't just execute his enemies, he made a spectacle of it. Take the case of a nobleman named In-Alkuk, who made the fatal mistake of massacring a Mongol trade caravan. Big mistake. Genghis, known for his hair-trigger temper, marched on In-Alkuk city with a vengeance. He didn't just defeat the place, he obliterated. The population was slaughtered, the buildings reduced to rubble, and as for In-Alkuk himself, Genghis saved the worst for last. He had molten silver poured into the man's eyes and ears. Yeah, you heard that right. Imagine the agony of liquid metal searing through your senses. It's like Genghis took a page out of a medieval torture manual and added his own twisted flair. This wasn't just punishment. It was a message to the world. Mess with the Mongols, and you'll regret it in the most horrifying way possible. So, next time you think about ignoring a business deal, remember In-Alkuk and think twice. Moving on to number 9, let's talk about a bizarre Mongol rule that sounds almost polite, until you hear the details. The Mongols had a strange tradition: no spilling noble blood. Sounds nice, right? Wrong. While they avoided cutting or stabbing nobles, they had no problem coming up with other creative ways to end their lives. Sometimes a noble might get off easy with a quick neck snap. Other times, the Mongols got a bit more inventive. Suffocation was a popular choice, as was crushing people under heavy wooden platforms. One of the most chilling examples happened after a battle with Russian nobles. The Mongols captured the defeated aristocrats, laid them under a massive platform, and then threw a victory party on top of it. They danced, drank, and celebrated, while the nobles beneath were slowly crushed to death. Talk about a party with a dark twist. It was both a celebration and a mass execution, proving that Genghis and his crew knew how to multitask in the most brutal way possible. At number 8, we're going back to Genghis Khan's early days, when he was just a kid named Temujin, long before he became the fearsome Khan. Life wasn't easy for young Temujin. After his father was poisoned by a rival tribe, the Tatars, his family was left in poverty, scraping by on the harsh Mongolian steppe. Sharing wasn't exactly a virtue in this cutthroat world, and Temujin learned that the hard way. He got into a heated argument with his half-brother Bektar over a piece of hunted game. Things escalated quickly. In a fit of rage, Temujin and his full brother Khazar teamed up and killed Bektar with arrows, leaving his body to rot. This wasn't just a sibling spat. It was a brutal act of survival in a world where food could mean the difference between life and death. According to ancient Mongol records, Temujin believed Bektar was hoarding food unfairly during a brutal winter. Their mother, Holun, was heartbroken, but couldn't do much to stop her sons. This moment marked Temujin's first taste of bloodshed, a chilling preview of the ruthless leader he'd become. From family feuds to world domination, this was just the beginning. Coming in at number 7, let's talk numbers. Terrifying numbers. You've probably heard of history's big bads like Stalin, who's blamed for around 20 million deaths. That's horrifying, no doubt. But Genghis Khan? He took that number and doubled it. Historians estimate that Genghis was responsible for about 40 million deaths during his reign. Let that sink in. 40 million. That was roughly 10% of the world's population at the time. His conquests were so devastating that entire regions were depopulated. Some researchers even suggest that the massive loss of life led to a drop in carbon levels, because so much farmland reverted to forest. So, in a twisted way, Genghis Khan might have been an accidental environmentalist. Scholars like Jack Weatherford point out that areas like Persia took hundreds of years to recover from the destruction. If Genghis were running a company today, his slogan would be simple: submit or be destroyed. And trust me, the employee turnover rate would be deadly. At number 6, we've got a story that sounds like something out of a movie, an enemy who shot his way to a promotion. During a fierce battle, an archer named Yebe pulled off an incredible shot, hitting Genghis Khan's horse right out from under him. You'd think that'd be a death sentence, right? Most people would run for their lives. Not Yebe. This guy had nerves of steel. He rode straight into the Mongol camp, admitted what he'd done, and offered his loyalty to Genghis in exchange for mercy. Instead of executing him, Genghis was so impressed by Yebe's bravery that he spared his life and then promoted him to a top general. Yebe went on to lead major campaigns, including a crushing victory over the Khwarezmian Empire. Genghis even gave him a nickname meaning Arrow, a fitting tribute to the shot that started it all. The takeaway? Sometimes taking a bold risk can pay off big time, even if it means facing down a warlord like Genghis Khan. Number 5 brings us to a rival who made even Genghis look like the good guy. Before Genghis united the Mongol tribes, he had a fierce competitor named Jamuka, a childhood friend turned bitter enemy. After a key battle at Dalan Baljud, Jamuka showed just how cruel he could be. He captured 70 enemy commanders and boiled them alive. Yeah, boiled them. Even for hardened warriors of the time, this was shocking. Word of Jamuka's barbaric act spread, and it turned people against him. Compared to Jamuka, Genghis started looking like the more reasonable choice. At least his executions were usually quicker. Ancient texts like the Secret History of the Mongols say this moment was a turning point, helping Genghis win support as the less brutal leader. It just goes to show, even in a world of warlords, there's always someone who can make you look tame by comparison. At number 4, let's debunk a myth about Genghis Khan. Some people like to say he was tolerant, a leader who embraced different religions and cultures. Not quite. Sure, Genghis consulted with Buddhist monks and Islamic scholars for advice on running his empire, but don't mistake that for kindness. He forced Mongol customs on everyone under his rule. Muslims weren't allowed to follow halal practices, Jews couldn't keep kosher, and anyone caught performing certain religious rituals faced harsh punishment. Historians like Maurice Rasabi point out that for Genghis, unity wasn't about peace, it was about control. If you lived in his empire, you followed Mongol rules, ate Mongol food, and celebrated Mongol holidays. There was no room for diversity. The message was clear: adapt to our way of life or face the consequences. Genghis wasn't a champion of tolerance. He was a master of domination. Number 3 takes us to the battlefield with a tactic that's as ruthless as it gets, using human shields. Long before modern warfare, Genghis perfected the art of recycling enemies. Captured soldiers were often pushed to the front lines of Mongol attacks, forced to absorb the first wave of arrows and weaken enemy defenses. If these captives fought hard, they might earn a chance to live. If they didn't, well, the Mongol swords were always ready. Historian Timothy May calls this a psychological weapon. Imagine facing an army and seeing your own countrymen forced to fight against you. It sowed chaos and despair, breaking the enemy's spirit before the real battle even began. It was survival of the fittest on the battlefield. Fight well, and you might just make it through the day. Coming in at number 2, we've got a battle cry that sent chills down spines. When Genghis Khan tore through the Khwarezmian Empire, he didn't just destroy cities, he erased them with a terrifying claim. At the city of Otrar, where he unleashed his molten silver revenge, Genghis declared himself a divine punisher, sent by God to bring judgment. Then, he massacred everyone. In Samarkand, he faced a massive defense of 100,000 soldiers. His strategy? Cut off their water supply, starve them out, and then storm the city. Some accounts, though debated, claim the Mongols went as far as attacking pregnant women and their unborn children during the slaughter. Whether that's true or exaggerated by terrified survivors, one thing is certain. When the dust settled, Samarkand was nothing more than a ghost town, a warning to anyone who dared resist. Finally, at number 1, we've got what might be the bloodiest massacre in history, the sacking of Urgench. This was the brutal climax of Genghis Khan's campaign against the Khwarezmian Empire. If you thought the other cities had it bad, brace yourself. The siege of Urgench lasted 6 grueling months, far longer than Genghis's usual lightning-fast conquests. When his troops finally broke through, they faced fierce resistance in every street and house. Frustrated by the guerrilla tactics, Genghis decided he'd had enough. He ordered the entire city burned to the ground. But even that wasn't the end. When survivors kept fighting, the Mongols diverted a nearby river to flood the ruins, drowning any hope of rebellion. Estimates suggest over 1 million people were killed in this single event, possibly making it the deadliest mass slaughter in recorded history. As if that wasn't enough, Urgench's memory was nearly wiped from existence, leaving behind little more than a horrifying legend. And there you have it, the brutal, mind-blowing, and sometimes darkly absurd life of Genghis Khan. This man wasn't just a conqueror. He was a force of nature, a name that still echoes through history as a symbol of raw power and unrelenting terror. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into the savage world of one of history's greatest warlords, don't stop here. Hit that like button, subscribe, and join us for more epic stories from the past. We've got tales of empires that rose and fell in a flash, rulers who'd make even Genghis pause, and moments that shaped the world we live in today. Until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and maybe keep your valuables locked up tight, just in case a modern-day Khan comes knocking.